amazing guests, super guests. We're just killing it with guests lately, and this particular person is going to be no different. We have none other than the legendary Gregg Lee from Paisty Jenny, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and give him a round of applause here. Add clap noise later and all that. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's cool.
Of course, man. So you're in Paisty Jenny. You're also in Wreck Jenny,
Yep.
which I find to be really cool. I want to ask you a little bit more about that, but you're the front man. You also play guitar, correct?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a long time, though. You haven't been just you're not new to the music market locally, especially here in Lincoln. You've been doing this for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been at it for a long time, a lot of years.
Yeah.
Started back in my high school days. I was gonna say college, but in Lincoln, my college days, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
And did several bands back then, played the Grove all the time when that was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
That's where I cut my teeth, I guess you'd say.
Right, for sure. So
Yeah.
you played the Grove was always a cool venue. I mean, I saw like the first bands that I back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, like my first bands and my first experiences were at the Grove. And me being a young musician, I started playing guitar at 16 and singing and stuff, playing out of our dad's stereos and all that. The Grove was a major part for us. We would watch guys like yourself playing there, and then we'd go run back home and see if we could mimic it. And most of the time we just blew it, but we gave it our best, right?
That's funny. That's great. No, I remember first time I ever played there. I was a high school kid still from York, Nebraska.
Yeah.
I was 17 or 18 years old, something like that. My first, I guess, real band that ever did anything is called Justin Morgan back in the day. And we played in a battle of the bands. And I think we got second place there at that time. We got beat by, I'm terrible with names, so I can't remember the name of the band, but these guys came out and it was kind of a gag thing. They came out wearing giant adult diapers.
Oh, no. So they had it won right off the bat, right? I mean,
they got us right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. But that's back in the day. Boy, the Grove it's obviously been through a lot of changes over the years, but the ceilings were leaking all the time. They had buckets all over the floor and tarps trying to catch the water.
Absolutely. Man, I thought you were going to tell me like it was the early iteration of Slipknot or something, like here they come out in baby costumes.
No.
So you guys have opened up for a lot of bands. You guys have played a lot of big shows. You guys have been at it. I have a brush with Paisty Jenny myself. Before you guys started, I was starting a band and I talked to a guy named Stan Liberty, which really well, I'm sure, because he plays guitar.
Sure.
And
sure.
Him and I were going to start a band, and we were going to call ourselves Liquid Courage or something like that, I think. And I was just getting ready to start, and then Stan stopped calling, and I was wondering like what's going on. And well, he found a pretty darn good band in you guys, and he ended up. You got no, it's you know how it works out in band. You've been in bands for years.
Sure.
I was the wrong guy for the job at the time. Like I'm a more seasoned musician now. But back then, man, I just cringed. Like I can only imagine a, world-class guitar player like Stan looking at an idiot like me playing my keyboard in my parents' basement and probably running for the hills,
Oh, geez. Well, we all start somewhere. That's really
yeah. I think he dodged the bullet. Well, not joining that band, but you guys have done really well. You guys, I used to be tied into. You guys played the Nowhere Bar, didn't you? Did you ever play the Nowhere Bar?
I don't know if we did with
maybe it wasn't. You guys are more at the Grove at that time when the Nowhere Bar was going still.
Yeah.
Maybe that was I'm trying to think. That was probably like Chris Dittmer's band and those guys, wasn't it?
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah, because I used to kind of help them. I was the karaoke DJ there, and my band played there a lot. And then I was kind of loosely help them with their entertainment and all that stuff. So I was trying to recall like if I had met you guys there or not.
Gotcha.
So it says in your bio, as I was looking at it on, so you've done voting for the Grammys, is that correct?
Yeah, I was a voting member for the Grammys for the Academy for well, this it's really interesting. It popped up in my Facebook memories. Crazy how
Mhm.
that keeps you on track.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
same
did
here.
that. But it's been 10 years now
Yeah.
that I've been part of that. Although to be honest with you, this year I resigned. I said I'm
Oh,
done with it because I just after this year's Grammys, I just couldn't be part of it anymore. I just wasn't
yeah.
very happy with the things that went on.
Well, how, I
So,
mean, so how did, how, if you don't mind me asking, how does one become that? How did you get into voting for the Grammys?
oh, sure, sure. Well, there's a certain criteria you have to meet. You know, you have to obviously apply to be that or do that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember right off what it is, the number, but there's a certain number of commercial musical releases you have to have put out in your career.
Hmm.
And there's a threshold. I think it was seven maybe at the
Yeah.
time or something like that. I don't remember for sure. But yeah, that's kind of that's part of it. And then there's certain things you got to answer certain questions and just meet their criteria. And so I was accepted, and it was a really cool experience to be part of that
It would be, yeah.
for a long time, a lot of years, and really neat. I guess a big honor for me. And um, but it, like I said, it kind of started going in the wrong direction. Some stuff that I just didn't agree with. So personally, I pulled the plug on my participation. So yeah.
I still think it's very cool that you did it, man. And so, I mean, how does it, what is, if you don't mind me asking still, like, what's the criteria? I mean, do they just send you a ballot of like the participants, and then you just kind of do that as a voting member, and then that's how it goes?
Yeah. So there's a couple rounds of voting. So there's like the preliminaries, and there's a whole slew of people are available for that. And then, after the second round, then you get the final round voting. And of course, there's all kinds of different categories. And you only really vote, and quite honestly, you probably only should vote in the categories that you're familiar with, being me
Yeah.
being rock and et cetera. Because, I don't know the first thing about hip hop. I would, straight up about that. That's not my genre. And so, me voting there doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I would vote on the stuff that I was familiar with. And so, that's kind of the way it works. And then, like I said, basically there's two rounds of voting. And once that's over, you're basically out of the loop. But it's kind of interesting how every year I would get my uh, Billboard magazine,
Hmm.
um, and was it Rolling Stones? No, Billboard. It's always Billboard, and the Grammy issue is always full page ads for people that were running or in the ring for whatever category.
Right.
But the whole issue of it is just nothing but full page ads every year.
Yeah.
I get that for free just because I was one of the voters. But it's just kind of funny. It's pure marketing. It's total marketing.
It is. They're like politicians, they're trying to brainwash you with this or that through their magazine. But that is, I mean, hey, you did it. That's something that a lot of us can't say. We can't check that off of our list that we voted for the Grammys. So were you kind of disgusted sometimes when you saw, because like to me it seems like the Grammys have kind of gone downhill in the last so many years in terms of who they're letting into the categories, especially in
Mhm.
us as rock people. We wonder why this act or that act was even considered, and let alone winning the whole thing. Did you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was part of it, part of my decision because it just didn't feel right anymore. It's just like they're going such different directions than what I thought would be the way to do it. And then again, this year's ceremony was just so off the charts. And I get it. I probably sound old because my parents were freaking out when I was listening to Kiss when I was a kid and
Right.
stuff like that. That was crazy stuff back then. But I don't know, maybe when you do get a little older, you start having some different perspective on life, and you see things in a different way. And And yeah, I just couldn't be part of it from what I saw this year. So
Well, I mean, I applaud you for that, man. I mean, you gotta stand up for your beliefs. I mean, you could just do what some of the other people are probably doing, just stick with it and vote, but not vote with your heart, you know. And I mean, you
sure.
take a stance on it and you left it. So, you know,
Yeah.
I applaud you for that. And you know, it's like I said, it's still very cool that you can check that off your list.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
thanks.
speaking of checking things off your list, I mean, it looks to me, and I am familiar with you guys' music, especially on Spotify and Amazon Music. I listen
Mhm.
to Amazon Music because that's I just like the platform better. But you know, you guys have what? You guys have 3 albums, right? You have Spilling Mercury as one of them. You have Detours Red, and you have 18 Days in Weed, right?
Yeah, and actually, there's one that came out originally. It was called Detours, and then was Detours Red. That's why it's
Oh,
named
okay.
Red.
Yeah,
Um, and it had the Red had a handful of other songs on it. It was duplicate of the first effort, but it had a few extra songs and also had a video on the disc
yeah,
uh, at the time. So technically, I guess four albums or 4 CDs over the years,
yep,
and had some songs do some cool stuff for us on radio. So that was good.
absolutely.
Um, had the opportunity to work with some really cool people, some great producers, and just it's been a cool experience. That's for sure. You learn a lot in the industry, and the industry's certainly changed tremendously since back in the day when when we started. So it's a whole different ball game
Right.
anymore. And one thing that I learned early, I came from the Gene Simmons school of rock and roll, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you're not going to talk about yourself, if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to do the work, nobody's going to do it for you. You
Yeah.
know, that's just the way it is. And if they're talking good, they're talking bad, doesn't matter. At least they're talking about you.
Yes,
You
exactly.
know, and that's what I grew up on, and that's what I guess I've always done. I've last few years I've taken a hiatus. The band took a break too. I got to a point where touring was just too intense, and there were some things that went on that just it was time to move on for a while. And now we're back at it, and I'm excited about it.